Thank you, Mr.
Mr. Fortenberry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Dr. Hamburg. I understand that Congressman not only had broached this topic earlier, but I want to return to it, please, and focus the remarks on this Cellular Tissue and Gene Therapies Advisory Committee, which has work related to the mitochondrial transfer technologies. Apparently, this hearing last month addressed scientific and technical consideration related to these technologies, in particular maternal spindle transfer and pronuclear transfer. I understand that researchers are pressing forward with this technique in human trials, which has currently only been done on monkeys, with the goal of advancing the replacement of defective genetic material. Now, the press in recent weeks has raised a number of concerns about the danger of this science, namely the development and promotion of genetically modified human beings with the potential for unknown, unintended, and permanent consequences for future generations of Americans. One quote from a professor of neurobiology is this: "The creation of 3 parent embryos is not an innocuous medical treatment. It is a macabre form of eugenic human cloning in which a human being with a medical condition is killed and his or her parts are used to create a new human being with an improved biological state." Clearly, there are consequences here, and frankly, these scenarios scare people, and I would be very worried if it didn't scare people. So I'd like to hear your thoughts about the potential risk involved with these techniques.
Well, this is an emerging technology that, of course, builds on advances in science and recognizes, you know, what is a serious disease condition. But as you point out, it raises many important issues that go beyond just scientific capability. The meeting that we held was really one of just beginning a discussion about research that has been underway and trying to deepen understanding of what this technique is about, etc. But we are very mindful that it raises a whole set of other issues. And while we don't think that we are the appropriate agency or entity to delve more deeply into the ethical issues, we are committed to partnering with other entities to examine those issues, and also, of course, to engage in a broader conversation with the American public and, of course, policymakers and leaders, including Congress. But it is something that is under discussion and under study, not just in this country but in other countries. And I think, you know, that we need to have these important discussions about the science and the ethics and
well,
the law.
I would suggest to you respectfully that scientific discovery is not a higher value than ethical discovery, and the two should be interdependent
Absolutely.
upon one another. Do you have an ethics committee at the FDA?
We do have ethicists at the FDA, and we do certainly address issues of biomedical research ethics, and also, of course, the ethics of patient safety and protection through a number of different committees and activities.
Would formalizing a structure such as an ethics committee within your agency be helpful, a helpful policy change?
Well, we feel very strongly that on this issue and on others, that it really needs to be a much broader conversation, that decisions shouldn't be made just within the walls of FDA on something like this.
Well, I agree with that, but
yeah.
I'm suggesting, well, maybe you already have it, but a formalization of that process might be prudent.
Yeah. Well, I think, as I said, we have for different kinds of purposes, we have different sort of constellations of trained ethicists and committees or advisory groups that help us with those issues. But I hear what your question is, and I think it's worth taking it back for discussion.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Valadao.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Hamburg,